Stop, breathe. Don't cross the new year on autopilot. Archangel Miguel warns, if you do that in the first minutes, you open a breach that seems small, but charges dearly the whole year. And I'm going to tell you now, without beating around the bush, what that is. Do not start the year with your mouth open to murmur, complain, mock, or discuss. It's not superstition. It's principle. It's spiritual governance. The first minute becomes a seal. The first word becomes direction. And the first emotion becomes permission. If your first minute is born in murmuring, comparison, fighting, irony, gossip, criticism, you are not just speaking. You are signing in the invisible a contract with the weight of last year, and I know how that sounds to those who never paid attention. But it's just a phrase, it's just a comment, it's just a joke. That's where the breach enters, in the I just answered, in the I just vented, in the I just spoke the truth, in the I was just joking. Miguel is the guardian of the doors, and doors are not broken down with noise. Doors open with carelessness. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to give you 3 simple seals, 3 short acts. And the third is the rarest. It takes less than 20 seconds and closes the door that most people leave open without realizing. And before you think, I already know this, I'm going to ask you one thing. Don't defend yourself, observe yourself, because there are people who pray, fast, light candles, make promises, and yet repeat the same year, just in another month. Do you know why? Because the ritual changes, but the beginning doesn't change. Now make a deal with me. For 60 seconds you won't get distracted. You will listen as if your peace depended on it, because it does. And if you want Miguel to seal your house, write in the comments, Miguel, seal the doors of my year. This comment is not an ornament. It's a positioning. It's you saying, I choose vigilance. Act 1. The first minute is not a minute. It is a threshold. Few realize, but the turn is not just a calendar. It's a threshold. It's a passage. You change the year number and think life changes. But Miguel reminds us of a simple phrase. The calendar changes the date. Only the decision changes the direction. That's why there are people who enter a new year and, in a few weeks, repeat the same cycles, the same type of conflict, the same tiredness, the same fear, the same feeling of running and not getting anywhere. Because they crossed the threshold with the same mouth, the same heart, the same haste, and the same breach. And the most common breach, the most ignored, is the mouth. The mouth is a door, the mouth is an altar, the mouth is a sword. What you release in the first minute becomes a seed. And here is the truth Miguel wants you to face. You can decorate the house, wear white, eat lentils, toast, jump waves. But if you inaugurate the year with complaint and discussion, you consecrate the year to the weight you claim to fight. And pay attention. It's not you can't speak. It's you can't inaugurate with poison. Because the first thing you release has enormous power. It tells your body which emotion is permitted. It tells your mind which story should be told. And it tells the environment which spirit will dominate the house. Now, I'm going to show you how this happens in real life, not as theory, as life. Imagine a simple table. The family is gathered. There are 30 seconds left until midnight. Everyone tries to smile, but there's a wound there, hidden, an overdue bill, unemployment, a betrayal, a broken promise, a comparison. Then someone picks up their phone, sees an old message, remembers a pain, and without realizing it lets out, "This year was garbage." Another person responds, "You just complain, Esui." And that's it. The first minute of the year turns into a ring. The toast turns into irony. The Happy New Year turns into a demand. And do you know what's worse? Nobody thinks this is serious. Nobody realizes they just opened the door. Nothing explodes at the moment. But something opens. The house becomes heavy. The heart becomes tense. The mind becomes accelerated. And the next day that person wakes up with the same irritation. The following week, the same impatience. The following month, the same feeling that things aren't moving. Because the first minute was a signature. Miguel doesn't want you to enter like that. And here comes the question that separates those who change from those who repeat. What was the first thing that came out of your mouth last year? Do you remember? Most don't remember. And that's why they repeat. Today, Miguel wants you to enter with consciousness. But before I give you the seals, I need to show you why starting with murmuring is so dangerous. Because when you understand the consequence, you stop thinking it's an exaggeration. Act 2. The 5 disguised forms of that and why they open the same breach. When I say don't murmur, you might think, I don't murmur. But the that disguises itself. It changes clothes, it changes tone, it changes masks. Here are 5 common forms of that in the first minutes of the year. The pretty complaint. You don't say everything's bad, you say we try, right? You don't say it won't work, you say let's see. It's doubt dressed as politeness. The sarcasm. You laugh, but inside you hurt. Oh, sure. Now it'll happen. Happy New Year. Let's see how long it lasts. Sarcasm is a blade that cuts peace. The discussion disguised as truth. I'm just being sincere. I'm just saying what I think. And sincerity becomes an excuse to lose governance. The comparison, you cross the new year looking at someone else's life. Look where so-and-so is. Look at the car. Look at the trip. Comparison is the fastest door to discouragement. The first communion with the screen. The first minute you give to your cell phone. Status, messages, news, controversy, memes. You give your attention, which is your energy, to what doesn't heal you, see? It seems different, but it's the same root. You inaugurate the year without inner governance. Now, why is Miguel so tough on this? Because the mouth is where the invisible becomes visible. Thought can even remain hidden. The word cannot. And Miguel knows, the word creates tracks. Therefore, before I give you the seals, I need to show you the 3 serious consequences of starting the year with this breach. Act 3. The 3 serious consequences of the open mouth consequence. 1. You hand over the steering wheel of your emotion. Murmuring is not just venting. When you murmur, you train your mind to look for proof of what is missing. You start the year saying nothing works out, and your brain becomes a fault finder. It doesn't look for opportunity. It looks for confirmation of your discourse. You call this realism. Miguel calls this a breach, because a breach is when your mind works against you, and when your mind works against you, you become vulnerable. Worse decisions, stronger impulses, crueler self-criticism. Consequence 2. You wake the house to war. You might think that an argument is small, but an argument in the first minute is like lighting a spark in the hayloft of the soul. The house holds memory. The environment absorbs intention. When you fight, you teach your body to live in alert, and those who live in alert do not rest, do not heal, do not flourish. Consequence 3. You utter a prophecy against yourself. The worst part is not complaining. It's the type of phrase that is born along with the complaint. This year will be the same. I already know how it ends. It's no use. I never have luck. With me, it's always like this. These phrases seem like jokes, but they are decrees, and Miguel warns, decrees create tracks. You say it's no use, and unconsciously you give up before trying. You say it will go wrong, and you already prepare to fail. And then the year begins, and you yourself close the doors you asked heaven to open. It's tough, but it's also liberating, because if the problem starts in the mouth, the change also starts in the mouth. Aced 3b. The 7 phrases you cannot let escape, and what to say instead. Miguel is not asking you to become a robot. He is teaching you not to open a door with your tongue. So in the first minutes, especially watch these phrases. This year will be difficult. Replace with, I will cross with courage. I already know it will go wrong. Replace with, I do not decree defeat, I choose direction. I have no luck. Replace with, I receive wisdom and favor. Nobody helps me. Replace with, I ask for help with humility and walk with discipline. I'm tired of this. Replace with, I close cycles with peace. So-and-so ruined everything. Replace with, I do not start the year accusing. I start by blessing. New year, old problems. Replace with, New year, new decisions. Notice, it's not denying reality. It's choosing how you will walk within it. Reality exists. But how you talk about it is what defines whether you become a prisoner or a builder. And now I'm going to show you the engineering behind this. 8T3C, the 3 doors of the first minutes, mouth, eyes, hands. Miguel is the guardian of the doors, and in the first minutes there are 3 main doors you need to watch. The door of the mouth, what you say. The door of the eyes, what you consume. The door of the hands, what you touch and do. Therefore, the warning, don't do this, is not just about speaking. It's about inaugurating the year without governance. If the mouth opens to complain, the soul loses direction. If the eyes open to comparison, the heart loses contentment. If the hands open to the cell phone, the mind loses silence. And that's why your first minute needs to be an act of governance. You don't need to control the world. You need to control the entrance. Entrance of words, entrance of images, entrance of impulses. Now, do you understand why Miguel is so direct? The enemy doesn't need to knock you down with tragedy. He just needs to knock you down with habit, and habit sets in at the entrance. Act 3D, micro scene. The year that started with a phrase. I want you to see this like a movie, because when you see it, you don't forget. A woman crosses the turn of the year with a weight in her chest. She has a smile on her face, but her soul is tired. When midnight strikes, someone asks, "So what do you wish for the year?" She replies automatically, "I just want this year to stop hitting me." It was a vent. It was just a vent. But there she inaugurated the year as a victim. In the following weeks, everything that happened became proof that life hits. She started avoiding dreams, avoiding opportunities, avoiding conversations, not because she was weak, because she programmed herself with a phrase. Now, another scene. A man crosses the turn of the year amidst noisy people. Inside, he is angry at someone. He wants to speak. He wants to let it out. He makes 10 seconds of silence. He breathes. He says, "I receive peace." And when he feels the impulse to complain, he remembers, "My mouth is a door." In the following weeks, life still had problems. But he responded differently. He didn't give in. See, the world can be the same. The direction changes. And the direction begins in the first minute. Now yes, let's seal practically, like someone closing a door before the storm. Now I'm going to give you the 3 seals. They are simple, repeatable, and you can do them even if you are at a party, even if you are alone, even if you are at work, even if you are in a noisy place. And pay attention, you don't need to do it perfectly. You need to do it with truth. Act 4, Seal 1. The minute of silence. 10 seconds that cut the breach. The first seal is the simplest and the most neglected. Silence. Yes, silence. Because the mouth is a door and silence is a lock. When there are 10 seconds left until midnight, do this. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe deeply 3 times. Say nothing. Just say inwardly, "Miguel, guard my mouth." This lasts 10 seconds. And why does this work? Because you interrupt the impulse that opens a breach. Most people cross the turn of the year in anxiety, speaking loudly, laughing outwardly and trembling inwardly, competing for attention, competing for reason, competing for affection. Silence restores governance. It tells heaven and your mind, "I am not a hostage to the environment." Now I'm going to give you 3 versions of this seal for you to use according to your context. If you are with family, make silence looking at people as one who decides to love. If you are alone, make silence looking at the door of the house as one who decides to protect. If you are at a party, make silence inwardly, even with noise outside. This is the test. And here's the question that traps you on the track. Can you remain silent for 10 seconds without opening your mouth? If you can't, that's already a revelation, because those who cannot remain silent in the first minute also cannot remain in peace in the first conflict. And now, if you want to seal this first door, write in the comments, "I guard my mouth." This is a public seal. Who seals publicly sustains more. Act 5, Seal 2, the first phrase, the mouth as an altar. Now comes the second seal, the first phrase. You will not inaugurate the year with just any phrase. You will inaugurate with a phrase that closes a breach and opens direction. When midnight strikes, you will say, softly or normally, it doesn't matter, but with truth. "I receive the peace of God, and I do not give access to fear." That is the phrase, simple, direct, without mysticism. And here is the key. Don't say it like one who repeats. Say it like one who decides. Now, if you are with other people, you can say, I bless this house, I bless this year, I bless who is here. Why? Because blessing is the language of heaven. And murmuring is the language of weight. You choose which language to speak. And pay attention, the phrase is not magic, it is direction. It aligns your mind, your heart, and your attitude. Because whoever starts by saying, I receive peace, starts looking for peace. Whoever starts by saying, I bless, starts acting like one who blesses. Now I'm going to show you how this changes a house in practice. Think of that same table. But now, before midnight, someone makes silence. And when midnight strikes, instead of sarcasm, the person says, I bless this house. The atmosphere changes, because someone assumed governance. And governance is contagious, those nearby feel it. But there is a specific enemy of this seal, the cell phone. Many people cross the turn of the year, and in the first minute rush to their cell phone, status, message, comparison, bad news. And without realizing it, they exchange an altar for a screen. Miguel is not telling you to hate cell phones. He is saying, do not make your cell phone your first altar of the year. Look later, respond later, see news later. But first, seal. Now comes the third seal, and it is the rarest because it requires courage. Courage to cut an old habit in 20 seconds. If you do it, you change your route. Act 6. Seal 3, the rarest. The cutting of the breach, 20 seconds. The third seal is this. You will close a specific door. Not the doors of the world, a door of yours. Because heaven does not seal what you insist on keeping open. So do this in the first minute of the year. Think of one breach that most brought you down last year. It could be outburst of anger, addiction to comparison, gossip, pornography, drinking, procrastination, toxic relationship, self-sabotage, impulse debt, lying, pride. Then say in a low voice, in the name of God, I close this door. Miguel, guard my decision. And finish with a simple gesture. Touch the door of your house or touch the table as one who seals a pact and say, my first minute is of light. That's all. 20 seconds. And why is this the rarest? Because most people like the idea of protection, but don't like the idea of renunciation. Most people want blessing, but want to keep their pet breach. Miguel does not negotiate with a breach. Miguel protects when you decide. Now listen to what I'm going to tell you with kindness and firmness. If you don't close any door, the new year becomes just makeup. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be decided. And here is the CTA that changes retention and life. If you chose a door to close, write in the comments just one word, closed. This word is simple, but it creates commitment. Act 7, the first 5 minutes, so the seal does not break. Now that you have sealed the 3 acts, you need to protect the seal in the following minutes, because many people do well at the turn of the year and ruin it at 00, 07. How? Returning to the same mouth, to the same discussion, to the same screen. So here's a practical map of the first 5 minutes, so you don't get lost. Minute 1. Silence plus hand on chest, plus Miguel guard my mouth. Minute 2. The phrase of peace, or the blessing of the house. Minute 3. The cutting of the breach, I close this door. Minute 4. A hug without demands. Minute 5. Water and gratitude. Drink a sip of water as one who says, I choose life. And give thanks for 3 things. 1 small, 1 medium, and 1 large. Why water and gratitude? Because the body needs to understand that the year began with care, not with war. And gratitude is not naivety. Gratitude is direction. 7b. If you are in a difficult context, party, solitude, mourning, work. Miguel knows that not everyone crosses the turn of the year in peace. Some people cross it at a crowded party, but are empty inside. Some people cross it alone and fear the silence. Some people cross it in mourning and feel guilty for not being able to celebrate. Some people cross it working, tired with no festive mood. So here's how to apply the seals in each scenario, without being theatrical. If you are at a party, you don't need to silence the world, you need to guard your door. Do seal 1 inwardly, breathing. Say seal 2 without shouting, just to yourself. And do seal 3 with a real decision, even if no one sees it, because the highest victory is the one that happens when no one is applauding you. If you are alone, don't turn solitude into a sentence. Solitude can be an altar. Turn on a light in the house, a lamp itself, and say, "Here there is peace. Heaven does not depend on an audience. It depends on truth." If you are in mourning, you are not broken for feeling longing. You are human. So instead of forcing joy, do seal 2 like this. I receive comfort, and I do not give access to despair. This is honor. This is healing. Miguel does not demand a smile. He demands direction. If you are working, your first minute can be on the way, in the bathroom, during a break, in the corridor. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe. Say, "I receive peace," and close your main door. Complaint. Because complaining at work seems normal, but it drains you from within. Miguel works with what you have. 10 seconds, 1 phrase, 1 decision. That's how doors close. Act 7C, the first 3 days, so you don't return to the old year. Now I want to give you something that almost no one delivers: how to sustain the seal. Because some people do the 3 seals and by January 2nd are already back to the same mouth and the same haste. So in the first 3 days, do this. Day 1, fast from murmuring, 24 hours. It's not a food fast, it's a complaint fast. Whenever you are about to complain, replace it with a question. What can I do today? This question closes the door of the victim and opens the door of the agent. Day 2, eye cleansing, 2 hours without a screen. Choose 2 hours of the day not to consume anything that agitates you. News, controversy, comparison. During these 2 hours, do something that stabilizes you. Tidy up a corner of the house, walk, read a psalm, listen to calm music. The goal is simple. Teach your body that peace is possible. Day 3, an action of alliance, 15 minutes. Set aside 15 minutes and take an action that proves your decision. Send a message of forgiveness. Organize a document. Cut a habit. Start a list of realistic goals. Ask for help. Small but real action. Why? Because the year does not change with emotion. The year changes with practice. And when you practice, you transform seal into a path. Act 7D, the final test, the first provocation. And I'm going to tell you what always happens. After the turn of the year, a provocation comes. It could be someone who says an offensive phrase. It could be a relative who pokes. It could be a message that irritates you. It could be traffic. It could be an unforeseen event. Miguel's question is simple. Will you reopen the door? Because the door reopens through the same mouth that closed it. So when the provocation comes, use the 3-second mini-seal. Breathe. Silence. And say, "I choose peace." This saves your day, and little by little, saves your year. Now 3 protections for the first hour of the year. Protection 1. Do not reopen your mouth to demand. If you are going to hug someone, hug. If you are going to forgive, forgive. But do not use the first hug to demand, "I hope this year you change. Let's see if you'll keep your promise." You always promise. This is poison. The first hug needs to be a seed. Protection. 2. Do not reopen your mind to the past. The mind loves to pull retrospectives. Remember when you did that, I suffered. Miguel says, the past is a teacher, not a bed. You learn from it. You don't sleep in it. Protection 3. Do not reopen the house to noise. Avoid aggressive music, aggressive conversation, drink that takes away governance. Not because Miguel is fragile, but because you are human. And when you lose governance, the breach returns. Past T8. When you fail, because you are human. Now I'm going to speak to you as Miguel would speak, with firmness and mercy. What if you fail? What if you slip and complain? What if you argue? What if you open your cell phone and get lost? The answer is not guilt, the answer is return. Miguel is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for attentive people. So do a simple reset. Stop, breathe, and say, I return to peace. And that's it. Because what seals the year is not a performance, it is a persistent direction. The year is not decided by an isolated minute. It is decided by the pattern you sustain. But the first minute sets the tone, and that's why Miguel insists, start well. Act 9. Final prayer. Short, practical, repeatable. Now, close your eyes for 5 seconds and repeat with me, Archangel Michael, guard my mind, my mouth, and my house. I close the doors of fear. I open the doors of peace. I receive health, direction, and protection. May this year be one of healing and growth. Amen. Before concluding, I will recap so you don't forget, because the enemy loves confusion. Seal 1. 10 seconds of silence, hand on chest. 3 breaths. Miguel, guard my mouth. Seal 2, the first phrase, I receive the peace of God and do not give access to fear. Seal 3, the cutting of the breach. I close this door. Miguel, guard my decision. 3 seals. 1 minute. 1 direction. And now I ask you a direct question. Will you start the year as a victim of impulse, or as a guardian of the door? If you understood, don't let this turn into video inspiration. Transform it into practice. And if you want to walk with me in these messages, subscribe, because in the next videos I will show you how to identify breaches in the house, how to cut cycles of repetition, how to strengthen your mind without falling into anxiety. Now let's conclude in peace. And now, I'm going to ask you one last thing. If this message spoke to you, send it to someone, because some people will enter the year with their mouths open and will pay without understanding why. And you can be the warning that saves. Miguel is light, and light begins in the first minute.